Experts say racial trauma and ongoing discrimination may cause and significantly worsen symptoms, in addition to other barriers communities of color endure.
Studies show racial minority groups show higher levels of anxiety, depression, suicidal tendencies, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other mental health disorders.
You can walk down the hallway smiling, and for someone to know that you're not really okay and they want to talk to you, that means a lot to someone.
Normally minorities will think if we depressed or stressed, we're just having a day. So they'll go through life thinking that this is just normal. And so when they have children, nothing comes on sometimes in most individuals' mindset where I'm not going to raise my kid this way. I'm not going to talk to my kid this way. I'm going to be uplifting. I'm going to be more involved. Then you have those who feel like that's the right way to do it because that's what they were shown. So it becomes a pattern.
My mom, she's from the Philippines, was born in Manila, and then moved here when she was like in her 20s. And then my dad is black, and his dad is Jamaican. My mom moved here when she was about 24. She's the oldest child of 4. And so it was kind of tough because when my mom was in high school, my grandma, her mom, had to move here to find a job. And so, having her mom leave her like during such a, important part of her life, it was tough. And then one by one, her siblings or my aunts and my uncle went to go join her. So at one point she was alone with my grandpa. And it was tough because, she for a long time, she grew up without her mom. And so she didn't really have the support that she needed. My dad's upbringing was sort of tough. His mother passed at a really young age, and he had to go live with my great aunt, and some of his siblings they had passed. And so because of that, having to go through so much at a young age, he kind of just has this push through and everything's gonna be okay and strong mindset because he had no choice on escaping this situation. And so he just kind of had to push through it. So when he's dealing with me and my mental health, and of course he's supportive and he loves me, but he's not really able to understand because of the things that he went through as a kid.
Both of my parents had pretty rough childhoods. My mom, when she was 12, her mother died. And then my dad, his parents were in and out the house. So it was a lot of drug use and poverty in both of their upbringing. So they didn't really have a good parental figure.
My dad is mainly Dutch, and I believe he has a couple other European nationalities in his blood, but I'm not entirely sure beyond that. I think he's a little bit German too. Then he has a great-grandparent from Panama who was a Panamanian, his great-grandmother. And then my mom is half Syrian and Lebanese and then part Israeli. So it's definitely an odd mix of cultures.
My parents know about my mental health. It took a while for them to realize how serious it was.
When I did have chances to talk about it, I don't think I was taken seriously because they would just tell me to pray about it or something. So it's their way of detaching themselves from it, so they didn't have to listen to me or hear about it. So I pretty much got to deal with it by myself.
My mom, because she wasn't able to get access to having help with her mental health, because this is something that she struggles with today, and she's even talked to me about it. She was just saying how a lot of the things that you were going through, I was going through too, but I didn't know who to go to. And so I think that's why she's so supportive, because she didn't have that support that I have now.
I guess my parents found out when I told them that I was in a really bad spot, to the point where it's I don't want to be alive. And when they found out, they were terrified, because it's what did we do wrong? I'm failing as a parent. And that makes me feel guilty, because it's I didn't tell them when it was really bad. So after that, they realized yeah, our daughter's in a really bad state, and so we need to do everything we can to get her out of it.
I grew up in a single parent household with my mom, who is white, and I don't know my biological father personally. I know that he's mixed, but like mostly black.
Sometimes people need to have someone who has experienced things, because then they feel like you can relate. Well, you kind of understand what I'm going through. So hey, I've been where you been.
Depending on who you ask, I'm pretty white passing. So it's kind of a mixed bag being mixed at a PWI, because it's like, I feel like there are white people who see me as white, and white people who, especially if I'm like one of the only people of color there, it's kind of like obvious that I'm like seen as like the person of color there. My mom is like completely understanding of that. Like, she's very aware that she has a child of color, like a mixed child. And actually, there's been situations in my family actually where and this has happened with like people in general as well, but like it was more impactful within my family. But there was like a whole situation where they were being like racist towards black people, like with me in the room, not thinking of the fact that like I'm part of the group that they're talking about. So, and my mom was like quick to defend me in that and was more vocal than I was about it.
There is a difference between minorities and Caucasians when we're doing therapy and counseling. Because most of us have identified with some of those issues, or we have family members that's going through those issues. And we're not blindsided by it.
After 9/11, like especially when I was in elementary school, like I started to like experience like this like sense of otherness, and it wasn't like this like sense of otherness where like I was like persecuted by other people. It's like where I had to like suffer in silence, because like people started to like harp on Middle Eastern people a lot, and they would do it right in front of me. 'Cause, I'm white passing, white identifying. I fill that out in the census because I have blonde hair and blue eyes. But like people wouldn't know that they were hurting my feelings.
Talking to someone who doesn't know you, they're not judgmental, and they can help assist you and guide you. And a lot of times they just don't know. They like to keep to themselves, and they're not very forthcoming with information. So giving that and holding it all in, and that's what increases the depression and the struggles of them trying to figure out, am I doing this right? That I need help. I'm feeling this type of way. I need someone to talk to. And a lot of times they just don't. They don't know the resources out there. They don't know what's offered to them. And nobody's really following up with them to make sure people are okay. I usually tell people, get a journal. Write down small little goals to get to your long-term goals. Even if that small goal takes you, 4 to 6 months. But if you achieved it, you just keep moving on. If we can get more people on board how to handle mental illness, and you gotta not be afraid, you gotta be willing to learn. It may decrease a little bit, but it's gonna take some time because it's gonna take a village.